works is dead. I don't wanna die so soon. I got moves to make instead. I ain't scared, I'm prepared. Big ideas inside my head. I'm gonna make them manifest. And I'm dressed for success. I left, right, order my steps. Network, I ain't gotta do it by myself. Who you know, show me who you know. Better let them know we bout to blow. It's time to go, go, go. I'm attracting, no accidents, that's fate. Just go in and have a little faith. And faith without works is dead. I don't wanna die so soon. I got moves to make instead. I ain't scared, I'm prepared. Big ideas inside my head. I'm gonna make them manifest. And I'm dressed for success. I left, right, order my steps. Network, I ain't gotta do it by myself. Who you know, show me who you know. Better let them know we bout to blow. It's time to go, go, go. Go to work, get to work, yeah. Go to work, yeah. Go to work, get to work, yeah. Go to work, yeah. I ain't tryna trade my time, yeah. Simply wanna show you what I'm worth, yeah. Daily I'ma stay on my grind, yeah. Have a little faith and go to work. Go to work. Yeah. Go to work. Go to work. Yeah. Okay. Now go nuts.
Hey there, I'm Trevor Houston, the creator of the Who You Know Summit, and I'd like to welcome you to the Who You Know Job Networking Show.
On our program, we'd like to show you the job search like you've never seen.
Everything from getting noticed by employers, how to properly format your resume, and how to network effectively using LinkedIn to drive recruiters to your profile.
We even take suggestions from our amazing community.
So if you want to learn all things job search, go ahead and subscribe now.
Focus! It's all about the job search. So if you want to learn how to land that next success, you heard them. All you got to do is subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss out on a thing. Welcome to the Who You Know Job Networking Show, where what you know is important, but
Who you know can make all the difference in your job search.
It definitely can, and I'm super excited because we've got an amazing show for y'all.
Super impactful.
Oh my gosh, y'all get ready for your mic drops. But before we get to all that fun jazz, I would like to go to the audience, and I want to say First and foremost, I am super grateful and thankful for our audience. So let's give some shout outs. Who do you got over on your end, Mark?
We got Richard Hodges, Mark Lauterbach, Kat O'Toole. Hey, Kat. Kathy Wolf Swanson.
David Mundy.
Hey,
What's good?
David, what's up?
Mundy, Brian Faulkner, Philip Austin. Good to see you. And I also want to give a special shout out. Our guest today is Ryan Blair, and we're actually live streaming on his channel as well. So I want to shout out to Ryan's audience here. I see Diane. Good morning, Diane. How are you? Tamara. Good morning. How are you? I see all of you over there. Juan. I see you. Sue. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Welcome to the Who You Know Job Networking Show. Super excited. And for my audience over on LinkedIn, I would like for you to tell us real quickly what it is you're doing here. I want to know what you're searching for. What are you looking for? Is it IT, project management, QA? Let us know in the comments, because we do have a big audience of recruiters and hiring managers who watch, and you never know. It's all about who you know. They may pick you up just from your comments. So make sure you let us know what you're looking for. If you are hiring, I want to hear from you as well. If you're a coach and you're supporting the network, we want to hear from you. So get in those comments and also let us know what you are thankful for on this very special day.
And we are thankful for you. Today is our Thanksgiving episode.
It is.
Headed into the holiday.
Absolutely.
A ton to be grateful for, a ton to be thankful for. So, yeah, let us know what you're grateful for.
Well, on that note, I've got the prayer of the day. So I'm going to pray over the audience. If everybody can bow your head with me. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this beautiful day. Thank you for all the gifts, for the air in my lungs that allows me to be able to reach these people. Lord, I pray that you use this show today. Use this show to reach your people, to lift people up, to inspire them, encourage them. I know there's a lot of people going through a dark time right now. Some people are confused. Some people are lost. Lord, you are the light. Shine your light on them today through this show. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, we've got a lot of landings, a lot to be thankful for. We've got some people who are now back to their cash flow. They're back to work.
Yep. Get your cash, get your money guns ready.
All right, so big round of applause. We got Albert Statler. Congratulations.
All right, Albert. Congratulations.
Woo! We got Ken Lehman.
Ken, yeah.
We got Craig Nolan. Congratulations.
Craig.
Joyce Tilsch.
Tilsch. Yeah.
Tilsch. I said that right.
Congratulations,
Steve
Joyce.
Green. Congratulations.
Hey, Steve. All right, Steve.
Vera Wallace. Congrats to you.
Congrats.
And Christine Flop.
Christine.
Woo!
All right. Oh,
congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
So that's what we like to do over here. We like to celebrate with cash flow, because these people are now back to work. You know, they've had a hard journey, and you know, they got back to their cash flow, which is amazing. And what do we also talk about?
Well, we also talk about how you can be inspired not only by their landing, but also connect with those folks, right? All of those people that we just rattled off. Number one, find out how they got noticed, how they differentiated themselves, got themselves out of the black hole and into that position, as well as ask if they are still hiring. That company that hired them is still looking for people.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. They just got a job, so they went through the process. They know what that process looks like, number one. They know who the decision makers are, number two. Right, and so it may be you're trying to get a different job in a different industry, or a different field. I'm sorry, but they can help you. Right, success leaves clues, and they know the decision makers, and they can help connect you with those folks. So pay it forward, guys. That's what this is all about. Let's make an impact. So
Yep.
I love it, love it, love it. Congrats to all of you who got your cash flow back.
Back to your cash flow.
Yep.
Speaking of getting you back to your cash flow, I've got some tips. Tip of the week.
Go.
So let's talk about the interview process, right? So a lot of you, at this point, we just got the jobs report, right? 199,000 new job claims. It's the lowest since like 1961. So there's a lot of people getting landed, not as many people searching, a lot of interviews going on. Once you get into that interview, it's about likability, right? Mm-hmm. So here's what you need to focus on. They already know you can do the job. They have your resume. That's why they called you in. Now it's your job to sell yourself and your likability. So come with questions, right? Ask questions that get them talking. Express not only that you can do the job and the requirements that they're asking, but your thoughts and feelings, right? Your thoughts and feelings. They want to know that you're a person, and that's how you get people to like you. Have a story. Make sure that you have a story crafted and memorized that you can share that with them. And make it funny, include some humor. If you can get people to laugh, that increases your likability, even a chuckle, right? Add some humor. Don't be perfect, be imperfect. Don't be overly aggressive. And most of all, relax, right? Be likable. That's why they're interviewing you.
Yeah, okay, so I like that. So first of all, I'm gonna give you a mic drop. That was great. Mic drop on that tip, because here's the deal. A couple things I love what you said is tell a story, right? Facts tell, stories sell.
Boom.
Facts tell, stories sell, right? People buy off of emotion, and so when you're telling a story, you're taking somebody through a journey, and they get emotional about it. So I love that. The other thing is if you can make them laugh, I'm going to tell you right now, if you can make people laugh, you got them. You got them.
Yeah, an interview doesn't have to be, it's, professional, but it doesn't have to be boring.
Oh my gosh, it definitely doesn't have to be boring. Take the tie off, okay, relax, like you said, relax, be yourself. And if you can make them laugh, you got them. So I love that. Great job. Guys, a real quick shout out again. I see over there on Ryan's channel, I see Christine, I see Juan, Diane, how are you? Good morning. Susan, how are you? All right, guys, we got to go to a real quick break, but don't go anywhere because I promise you some mic drops. We've got Ryan Blair in the house. We'll be right back.
Blair is here, and he went from the streets to a successful entrepreneur. He has written a best-selling book.
You're an incredibly successful businessman. I've done very well as well. Both of us got here.
We have the legend, Ryan Blair, in the house, man. Good to see you, brother. Love you. I feel like you're one of my biggest mentors from how much you share and how much you have a company, but you sold this company originally for almost $800 million.
Ryan Blair, everyone knows, the best-selling author, the multi-millionaire, the guy that made $2 billion, started one of the most amazing companies.
Give us the secrets to, by 19, starting his own business, by 30, having 6 multi-million-dollar businesses.
At the age of 21 years old, Ryan had already founded his first business called 24/7 Tech, and since then he created and sold numerous other companies for hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of his career, you guys. In 2012, Ryan was named Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year and exited his company in a $792 million transaction. Blair now leads his new company, AlterCall, and is a committed father and philanthropist.
Ryan, we salute you. You are an American success.
Ryan Blair.
Ryan Blair.
Ryan Blair.
Ryan Blair.
Ryan Blair.
Ryan Blair. Ryan Blair.
Entrepreneur Ryan Blair.
You can say they actually went from gang member to millionaire.
An entrepreneur, Ryan Blair, has lived with ups and downs. And Ryan, thanks again for being with us. Your book is titled Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain.
Have a whole different mindset. Nothing to lose, everything to gain.
Everyone to help achieve their dreams with his latest book. It's called From Rock Bottom to Rock Star.
Blair, he is a book. The number one on the news bestseller list. Let's check it out. Because some people let the pain stop them.
Yeah.
Most of us let the pain drive us.
Does that mean we're sick? You continue to add value to people's lives, and then the more you do that for a long enough period of time, it starts to have a bit of a ripple effect.
Welcome back to the Who You Know Job Networking Show, where what you know is important, but
Who you know, who y'all know can make all the difference in your job search.
It definitely can. Let me tell you who I know, okay? So I know this guy named Ryan Blair, and he's a #1 New York Times best-selling author, a serial entrepreneur, and former co-founder and CEO of the multi-level marketing company ViSalus, which sold for over $792 million in 2012. His latest company, AlterCall, is a movement inspiring and teaching entrepreneurs how to find their purpose and doing business in a new way, which include mind, body, and soul connection. Everybody, a warm who you know welcome for Ryan Blair. Let's go.
Woohoo, Ryan.
Man, welcome. Uh-oh, I think you're on mute.
Oh, I am. By the way, that's the best welcome ever. Thank you very much.
We are super excited to have you here, Ryan. And, you know, we were over here shooting off our money guns. And when the commercial break was going, I said, you know, Ryan's no stranger to these. He's probably made a few of these.
Oh, yeah.
And you've had a very, very successful journey. But one of the things that I was watching a video and kind of getting to know your story a little bit, Ryan, and I really want to dive into how you grew up, because I have a very, very similar journey in my childhood. And so I would like for you to maybe share with the audience, and let's start there. What was it like for you, you know, as a teenager growing up? It said, I heard in the promo video, it said you were in a gang and things like that. Can you talk to us about your story and your journey growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. My early childhood wasn't that bad. My dad was in the middle class, and my mom was a homemaker. But both of them, you know, they had self-medication challenges that turned into addiction. My dad was an engineer, and we did all right. We had nice presents underneath the Christmas tree. I had new clothes come school year. But when drug addiction took over my family, it disintegrated. And by the time I was 13, you know, I was faced with a father that was violent, abusive, and he had gotten so addicted to drugs that we lost our house, we lost our car, we lost everything. So my middle class environment was ripped away from me. And so as a young child, I saw what looked like a very sheltered environment turn into a destructive environment, into a violent environment. By the time I was 13, I was hanging around the wrong kids. I had lost my father. He disappeared on us. My mother was suffering from alcoholism. And so I turned to the streets, and I turned to the mentors on the streets, which were older men involved in gangs. That was the only protection that I could receive. So I was in and out of juvenile hall. I was in and out of trouble. And I was raised by, my grandmother really had a strong influence on me in my life, and she taught me to be very spiritual. She was a Christian, and so she taught me to pray, and she taught me Christian values, and I strayed from them, as a teenager. And, by the time I was 17 years old, I was heading to prison. And by the grace of God, I had persuaded a judge through writing him a letter, and I wrote a letter begging for leniency. I was facing 4 years for armed robbery. And I was facing 4 years, and I wrote the judge a letter, and he told me that I should be writing in college, not in prison. And he granted me leniency under the conditions that I would, get counseling and that I would never come back before him.
Oh,
and I made a
gosh.
decision at that point, after lots of prayer. I was in solitary confinement writing this letter. So, I was praying for 20 days straight that I would somehow change my situation and not have to spend the next 4 years or potentially the rest of my life inside prison. And the judge granted me that leniency, and that's when my faith was renewed, and I made a decision that I was going to leave the gang environment, and I was going to somehow write my way into college. Now, at that time, I was in a continuation high school, and I was terrible at school. I had terrible grades. I was never considered, strong intellectually or academically. And somehow, I made the decision to write my way into college. And by the grace of God, a mentor came into my life at 17 years old. And next thing you know, I was writing my way into college. And,
wow.
And then from there, I wrote my way into being an entrepreneur and
wow.
then into a millionaire and so forth.
Right. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Man,
so I'm going to give a mic drop.
Grace upon grace upon grace.
Yeah, I'm going
right?
to give a mic drop for the judge.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And for grace and for the blessings of God. But I want to just share with you, my journey is very, very similar. I feel like you're like my brother or something. It's crazy. So when my parents split up, I stayed with my mom. My mom got addicted to drugs and was an alcoholic and was drinking. And my house became like a homeless shelter because she was disabled. And so we had a lot of male influences coming in and out of the house, a lot of people that were, in gangs, doing a lot of criminal activities. And these were my male role models. And at 13, I was in and out of juvie. And I was told that if I didn't move to my father's, that I was going to be in jail until I was 21. Okay, and this was as I was 15 at the time. I was 15, and they told me I was going to be in jail until I was 21 if I didn't move to my father's. And because I moved to my father was an entrepreneur, a business owner. He taught me how to work and save, and he was a faithful man. And anyway, so I relate so much to your story. I got, when I was with my mom, we got evicted out of the house multiple times, and there were times where I stayed with my grandmother, and my grandmother raised me up, and I just love my grandmother so much. So anyways, I thought I would share that with you. There's just so many similarities. Wow. So what happened after that? What happened after that?
Well, my first mentor was a successful real estate entrepreneur, and he gave me a job as his boy Friday, which meant that I had to do everything he didn't want to do. His mindset was that he made millions a year, so his time was valued at $1,000 an hour, and my time was valued at that time at $6 an hour. And so I got to do everything that he didn't want to do. I got to clean the barnacles off of his boat. I got to sand his deck. I got to clean he had this beautiful bird atrium. I got to clean up the poop in the bird atrium. He had this beautiful saltwater tank. I got to clean the algae off the saltwater tank. And one of the other jobs I got to do was to evict people from his homes.
Oh,
he owned
wow.
over 100 homes. So I was the one knocking on the door, telling them that they had to pay their rent or they had to get out. And so I got to see his business from the inside out. And for the first time in my life, even though my dad did provide early on in my life, he had a lot of emotional challenges because of the way he was raised. And he carried those forward into the way he raised me. And it was unfortunate because he was always, a closed off individual, and he was always had a very hard heart, and he was a very violent person. But my mentor was not. He was a loving, charismatic, beautiful soul. He would teach me at the dinner table every night, and he would just, I'd ask him 1,000 questions about what he did and how he did it. Because to me, my dad had owned a home, so I understood the importance of home ownership, but this man had owned 100 homes.
Wow.
So I was everything that I'd been taught about the American dream of owning one home, I didn't think you could ever one day own 100 homes.
All right.
And so, really being able to be mentored by a man who had done something that I didn't understand was even possible changed my life, forever.
How did you meet him?
He later became my stepfather because he married my mother. So
no way.
I had a very intimate relationship with him.
Wow. How did you originally meet him? How did you come in connection with this guy?
Yeah, he wanted to date my mom.
Okay.
And
That'll do it.
I was my mom's protector.
Oh, okay.
And so he needed permission from me to date my mom. And, he was a small guy. I was a big guy. And, he was small, very charismatic. He wore bright colored ties and shirts. And I was a gang member. I wore a gang uniform. And so I sized him up, and I was like, this guy wants to date my mom? No problem. I hope somehow I get rich from this experience. And while he was very stringent when it came to giving me money, he didn't give me money. He made me earn every penny. He gave me wisdom that would later make me rich.
Wow. Well, hey, mic drop for him is what?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah.
What's his name?
His name is Robert Hunt. He's no longer with us. He's with me spiritually. And, he's one of the most powerful mentors in my life. And he opened me up. Once I got to experience him and the way he operated in his wealth, I then got hungry for other mentors. And I've been blessed to be mentored by some of the greatest mentors of our time and our generation. and for all generations for that matter. And so, you know, Robert Hunt was my very first, and then from there I said, well, if this mentor taught me this much, I wonder what would happen if I got another mentor and another mentor.
So what are some of the the lessons that you learned or things that you took away from, you know, coming from even poverty, right? From a place of low means to being around people with money?
Well, they're no different than you. They just have a different system. And, you know, when I would size them up, you know, because that's what we did on the streets is we sized people up, right? I used to size up, you know, other gang members to determine whether or not I was going to get killed or, you know, I was going to win in a fight or lose in a fight. And I'm sizing up these rich people, and I'm like, they're no smarter than me. They're no better than me. You know, I had an attitude and a chip on my shoulder. They just have something that I don't have. There's some sort of gap that this person has that I want to fill. And so I was probably pretty annoying with these folks at first because I was like, whatever it is that you have in your head that I don't, because I could run faster than them, I could lift more weights than them, you know, I could do all kinds of things that they couldn't do, but, you know, I didn't know how to buy 100 homes. And so I had to extract the information from them that was necessary to learn how to buy 100 homes, for example, or whatever the task was at hand. So I learned that they weren't that much different than us. They were maybe 1% different.
So I got a question for you. You said you had an attitude and a chip on your shoulder. Okay, I had that too. Right, I had a lot of the kind of victim mentality. That's why I was violent. I got in a lot of fights, and that's what got me into trouble and what landed me in juvie and all that was fighting. And what was it the same for you? Is that like you were was there just an anger inside of you? And if so, what caused it? And how did you overcome that anger and get rid of the victim mentality?
Yeah, well, I was trained to be angry. I was trained to be rageful. My father was very rageful and very violent. I've broken my hand 5 times in fights.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you could see it. There's a big thing there. I've had all kinds of wounds on me and scars on me, I should say. No more wounds, but lots of scars. And my dad taught me to punch first, and he taught me to solve everything through physical violence. That was the way I was raised and trained and programmed from an early age. So, you know, when you take a child who's been abused and neglected and abandoned, you know, it's a perfect environment. A person who's highly trained in fighting and in martial arts at a young age, and then, you know, sent into the world. And I was picked on because I stood out like a sore thumb. I was in an ethnic environment that I wasn't a part of. I was taken from, you know, the middle class and thrown into poverty, and so I had to fight my way to prove myself and fight my way to protect myself nonstop. And one year I got in something like 50 fights, and I would count them, and it was almost as though I was a professional fighter for a period of time, and that was what I looked forward to. That's what I trained for, and you know, and that's what they would put me into fights. They would you know, try to set up fights for me because, you know, I was decent at it, and, you know, I lost a few, and I broke some teeth and some nose and some bones in the process, but, you know, I had a pretty strong will. So, you know, that was the chip that I had on my shoulder was, you know, I had a pretty strong sense of confidence in my physical capability and my fighting capability, but I had a very low self-esteem when it came to, you know, knowing who I was and really understanding the value that I could potentially bring to the world. I saw myself as, you know, a poor kid that was abandoned and neglected. How did I shift from a, you know, victim mentality?
Yeah, that right there, because you said you saw yourself as a poor kid who was neglected and abandoned. Like, that's the way you viewed yourself. How did you overcome that victim mentality?
Well, at first I was just going to prove to everyone in the world that I was not that. So at first I had this massive desire to prove first my father wrong, then every principal that had expelled me, every teacher that had said I was inferior or said I couldn't amount to anything. Then, every police officer that ever, had some terrible words to share with me, like I wanted to prove the world wrong. And then every time I showed up to a meeting and, somebody would judge me or criticize me, I was triggered on the inside. On the outside, I would just smile, but on the inside, I would say, great, I have a new person to prove wrong. So that was the first journey of several years. And that competitiveness in me led me to, to really push myself.
Wow. Yeah. So I can relate to that too, because once I found something I was good at. I started winning, and I got super, you know how competitive I am. Like, I'm so competitive. Like, I just wanted to prove that I had some kind of self-worth. You know, I'm like, I got to prove it. You know, and it's like, I got to get the trophy. Like, I'm all about the trophy. And I've learned that.
He is.
Right? You know, like, my office is just full of trophies, and I'm like, I got to win. Like, so I love that.
My question, Ryan, is you said that you had grown up and, you know, had some faith exposure, right, in a Christian home. Your grandmother, right? Yeah. So I imagine that had a pretty big role in, you know, kind of bringing you back, right, from maybe some of those, I don't know if you call them depths, but, you know, some of those tribulations. When did you realize and kind of come back to that, right, get back to your faith? And realize that there were people out there that were praying for you, right? That there were people that cared about you, and you turned that corner.
You know, I have to tell you that I've had some divine interventions in my life, and I just didn't understand it. You know, I have prayed many a times in my youth, like I prayed for the judge to give me leniency. I prayed to get out of situations. I prayed to not get caught. I prayed my way to, out of trouble, and then I prayed my way into success every step of the way. But I still didn't really understand it. My consciousness level didn't really get that, that God was by my side. I think I would pray, I would get the prayer answered, and then I would believe the lies that were told, or I would believe that maybe this is just coincidence, or believe that this was me doing all this stuff. And, I failed to realize the grace and the presence of our Creator in my life. I became very present to that when my mother passed away, and that's literally when my life changed. And that was 4 years ago when I looked back at my life and did a life review, and I saw all the prayers that had been answered, and I saw the grace that God had given me in my life, and that was 4 years ago, pretty much to the date that my life changed, completely.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's just such a journey for somebody to go through, and it's trial by fire, right? Yeah. Refined by the fire. And so, but to be able to understand and acknowledge that and appreciate it, what a blessing.
100%. Can you talk to us about your book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain? I say that to my audience all the time. That's a phrase that comes out of my mouth at least once a week.
What do you got to lose?
I tell them, you got nothing to lose, everything to gain, because I'm trying to get these job seekers back to work. And so can you talk to us about the book, where that came from, and what it's about?
Yeah, so Nothing to Lose was a book that was inspired by an interview that I did on Donnie Deutsch. And, when I went back and watched the interview a number of times, I kept telling him I had nothing to lose. And so that's the title of the book. And that was the mindset that I utilized to build the companies that I built, and to really, to have the mindset that I didn't care about what other people were doing. I didn't care about what the competition was doing, because I had literally nothing to lose.
Was that book, did you write that prior to your success with ViSalus? Am I saying that right?
Well, I wrote that book in 2010, so ViSalus had yet to be extremely successful, but it was getting more successful. And, it was actually going through a difficult time, and then, during the recession I wrote it, and it got published in 2011, and it just so happened that ViSalus would take off right as it was published.
Wow. Hey, I'm noticing, for the producer in the back, I'm noticing the camera's kind of washing out a little bit.
Yeah, let me try to make an adjustment here. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries, no worries. It's the light.
Sun.
That's what it is. The sun coming in. He's got all those.
The sun came in.
He's got all those baller windows coming in with the sunlight.
Yeah. Are you?
Is that a little better?
That's
Now, where are you at right now? Are you out
I'm
west?
in my living room, and the sun just. The light, I said, let there be light, and the sun just shined right on me.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Boom.
Is that better? I need to change
so
it a little
much better. So I know it was funny. It was like slowly just kind of like consuming you. I'm like, what is going on here?
That's the angels in the house. You get to see another piece of my living room here. As you can see, I've got a dinosaur skull in the background.
Yeah. Tell me about that, actually, because I saw that and I was like, that is the coolest thing. He's got a T-Rex skull back there. What's up with the T-Rex skull? That's
actually an 𝙒𝙤𝙤. So, that's the inspiration for the Velociraptor in the movie Jurassic Park. So that's an 𝙒𝙤𝙤 skull.
Is that real?
Yeah, that's a real skull.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah, the artist actually encased it in bronze, but there's a real skull underneath that bronze.
No way. That's super cool.
That is awesome. So, ViSalus, like, you're growing the business, right? And you're making, strides in scaling it. Was it always your intent to sell the business?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I see that glare again. Do you need me to change the angle one more time?
That would be good. Hey, see, and I love this, guys. For all of y'all watching, this is live stream, okay? This is the beauty of live stream, okay? Things happen and it's all good. I love it. It actually makes the show more interesting, makes it so much more fun. Like,
yep.
You know what I mean?
I
the thrill of live performance.
Coming in, but let's see here. Is that better? We still got a ton of glare here. All right. Now you get to see the other part of my living room.
Hey, there you go. Hey, we got the wreath back.
Hold on here.
Well, you have a beautiful home. This is like MTV Cribs.
Let's go.
Yeah, this is like MTV Cribs. So you sold the company. You intent was to sell, right? To build the company, at some point sell it. You sold it for not only one of these, but you sold it for 7 million of these, right? 762 million. That's 7 million of these.
You're trying to do math, bro. I don't know.
Right? 7 million $100 bills.
A lot of these.
That's a lot.
I never actually thought of it that way. I have definitely generated a lot of revenue and a lot of return to my investors and so forth. That's for sure.
What was one of the challenges of, as an entrepreneur, scaling it, right? Because I hear a lot of times where, people they'll hit a kind of a plateau, right? When you're building a business, you get to a certain point, and then you face some challenges, and then in order to overcome that plateau, you have to innovate and reinvigorate what you're doing. Did you run into that? Did you experience that?
You run into challenges every single day as an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is just simply a problem solver. You're solving a problem in the marketplace, and that's the idea of, the business is there to solve a problem. And then in order to effectively solve that problem, you have to solve a ton of problems on the inside of your walls each and every single day. And the better that you get at problem solving, and the better that you hire quality team members that help you solve those problems as well, the more that you can expand and scale the business. But it's basically one problem after another to build a business, right? And you just have to get good at looking at the negative and turning it into positive, and then learning from the negative as a result. So there's all kinds of challenges to scaling. I've had tremendous challenges of scaling, and in the current business that I'm running now at AlterCall, it's a startup, and so it's 2 years old with a small team of about 14 people. And every single day, we just have to solve problems. The more that we do that, the better the chances that we scale it.
Yep,
Boom.
Man, boom. Mic drop on that. Number one, that is super applicable to our audience, which is primarily job seekers, right? Because they are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Right? They're running a business, the business of search. And number two, right, when you look at, and you're going back to where you've come from, and you look at, okay, so how am I going to overcome these challenges? You've got to innovate, and you've got to be that entrepreneur. You have to have that entrepreneur mindset. So, man, I love it. That speaks directly to our audience.
We've had a bunch of mic drop moments, and we got some stuff to give away. Yeah. So I'm going to go to the audience real quick before we go to a commercial break. I'm going to go to the audience and see who we got with us today. I see Jim Ballard. Actually, Jim, I want to tell you something. I'm super grateful for you. I got some new analytics on the back end of my show, and you are our top engager, and top. Like, you show up every episode. I love you.
Ooh.
You're amazing. So shout out to you. And I'm going to give you right now, we're going to give you a signed copy of Ryan's book, I think we were going to give away Rock Bottom to Rock Star. We'll talk more about that in a second. So Jim Ballard, shout out to you. Kat O'Toole, Chandra Thomas, and David Mundy. I'm also going to give you a copy, a signed copy of that book as well. Guys, we got to go to a real quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You have something unique to offer your next employer, whether it's your experience or your work ethic or your passion or your personality. But how do you stand out from the crowd when you're stuck sending plain text emails that lack personality, lack humanity, and worst of all, look like every other email in the inbox? Job seekers just like you are discovering how easy it is to put their humanity back into their communication and back into their job search with BombBomb Video. Visit BombBomb.com to start a free trial today and rehumanize your job search.
Welcome back to the Who You Know Job Networking Show, where what you know is important, but
guess what? Who you know?
Who you know?
Who you know can make all the difference in your job search.
Guys, I'm super excited. We've got the one and only Ryan Blair back in the house, and we've been talking about how to scale a big old company and go navigate through all the challenges and how to fight fires and really overcome all the obstacles that come your way as an entrepreneur and as a job seeker and as just a person doing life, right? So I love it. And now I want to kind of shift a little bit. Ryan, can you talk to us about AlterCall? This is your new mission that you're on right now. And I see your shirt. I love that shirt, by the way. Talk to us about where that came from, the mission of the company, what you're doing, and where did all this stem from with AlterCall?
Well, you know, being raised as a Christian, I'd experienced a few altar calls that were life-changing in the spiritual sense. And it dawned on me that I wanted to create a different type of altar call, one where we help people alter their lives so that they can answer their calling. So where our pastor will call us to the front of the room, I want to call people to go to the inside of their room, basically, inside of them, and make the subtle changes that you need to make so that you can answer your calling. So we take people through a process where we help them get their mindset right, their health set right, their soul set right, so that they can be in a position to fulfill their role in the world, whether it be to be a great parent, the role to be a great entrepreneur, a great team member of a company. But we all carry multiple roles. And so my mission is basically to help people fulfill their mission.
I love that.
Now it's a proprietary, right? Proprietary solution that you've developed. And can you tell us a little bit more about how it works and what that system is?
I take entrepreneurs and executives, through a process. So, we have a curriculum that we've built, and we have a number of different questions that we ask them when we onboard them. We take them through a process to have them remove the things that are blocking them so that they can literally shine more light in their lives. Because of my experience, I realize that each of us has a vessel. And in that vessel is the cumulative experience, the good, the bad, and it's everything. And so we help them remove the things that are basically muddying the vessel so that they can shine more light. And so we're a spiritual community. It's filled with entrepreneurs that are faith-based, that are all aligned. And every single person within our community sees their role and the entrepreneurial vehicle that they have as a way for them to make an impact in the world and to tithe more and to give back more. And so my mission is to have thousands of businesses powered by AlterCall that are, doing better in the community and solving problems, but also giving back in unique ways that align with their businesses.
I love that. So it's about, removing some of those weeds, removing some of those things that are roadblocks. Now, I have a question, because I saw in the video, in your promo video, it looked like there was some like meditation involved and like things like that. Can you walk us through? Is most of your training in person at like retreats and things like that, or do you have some automation? Is there any courses? Is there stuff that someone can do away from? Like, talk to us about like a little bit more in depth.
Well, the most intimate ways when we get together in person, and we do those retreats about every 90 days, and as the scripture says, where two or more are gathered, so we get together in prayer, and we go through prayer, we go through meditation, we do some exercises on breath work, we go hiking, we go in the outdoors, and we help people get a breakthrough in their lives, a moment of awareness or clarity that helps them get to that next level. We're all climbing the ladder of enlightenment, and each of us are at different levels, and each of us need to overcome certain challenges and gain a certain level of awareness to get to the next step on the ladder. Every single one of us is on the exact same journey to be molded after the heart of the Creator himself. And it's up to us to determine how fast we want to accelerate that journey. And if we do want to live a life filled with purpose, one where we can make the greatest contribution that we possibly can, and live the world better than we found it, and actually pass down some wisdom, to our loved ones and to the people that we care about. So my job is to speed people up on that transformational journey and to give them the tools to accelerate it. So getting together in person is the most effective way that I have found to do that. But I also have a weekly Zoom meeting, and I do monthly Zoom meetings, with our community. So after people attend our experiences, they tend to join us, in our mastermind and some of our other mentoring curriculums. We do have courses, and we have some other things that are in the works. We have a course called Transformation Accelerator, where we take people through a 90-day journey of transformation. And we infuse spiritual principles with business principles. So we're teaching people how they can grow spiritually and then grow their business as a reflection of their spiritual growth.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to go back to what you were talking about, and I'd like to hear your input and insight on the breath work.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's a lot to breath. God spoke. God said, "Let there be light." Right? Spoke things into existence, and it's the breath of life. I think there's a lot to it, and the reason why I'm going here is because what led me to my journey I'm on right now. There was a gentleman that I met over coffee, and he prayed over me, and it was a really bold prayer that maybe might freak some people out, but I was totally like, all right, let's do this. And he was like doing breathing exercises. He was like, and like holding my hand and like telling me to breathe in and out, and like, but that guy changed my life. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It like totally set me on a path. And so I just want to hear your input and insight into the breathing element to this whole thing. What's your perspective into it?
Well, there's science to support the concept of breath work. There's a number of different ways. If you're heavy at exercise, you might exercise your lungs, and you might have a great lung capacity. But if you're not exercising aggressively, you're not utilizing the full capacity of these lungs and this breath of yours. And so, God breathes love into you with each breath that you take, and it's our job to be able to fully inhale that breath and be able to fully understand the capacity of the lungs that you've been so gifted to receive. So the science behind breath work is, it basically opens you up. And we now know that the body stores information, not just in the brain, but it also stores information all around it. And so as you're breathing, you're releasing some of the pains that you're storing, some of the traumas that you're storing, and you're letting go of some of the things that you've held inside. If you're a shallow breather, it's because you've been trained to hold things inside deeply. And so we open you up and help you open up your breath. But there's science to support meditation as well. Some people think meditation is connected to spirituality, and it is mentioned in the Bible, and there's other spiritual traditions that also do meditation. But if you just look at the science behind meditation, it really teaches you how to train your attention. And if you train your attention, if you can meditate on a word or meditate on music or meditate on the bird singing, you're learning to train your attention. And if you train your attention, you can focus and you can concentrate. And if you can concentrate, you can create. But when we can't concentrate, we are distracted. And when we are distracted, we literally are living in misery. So these modalities that I teach help a person become more focused and more concentrated so that they can become more creative. And so those are the foundational modalities that I utilize. Another one is voice, for example. You know, we have been gifted with the capacity to change the world with our voice. But the muscles that we need to be able to utilize our voice and be able to express our voice are not worked unless we know how to sing. And so I really encourage people to activate their voice. You know, most men are trained to work their biceps more than the most powerful muscle in the history of the world, which is your voice. So we teach people these modalities as foundational modalities to help them really get their mind and their body activated so that they can actually be in a position to bring the energy necessary to be able to make the income and the impact that they possibly can.
Wow.
And I'll just share with you a simple formula. You know, energy equals time and time equals money. And so we want to work on our energy so that our time is spent correctly and we have the most energy that we can bring to the time. And if we spend our time correctly and have great energy during our time, we will by default make money.
Oh my gosh, that's a mic drop. Woo! Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Energy equals time, time equals money. So if you want a little extra, you got to get your energy right.
That's right. Well, in the link, right? They've done studies all over the place, but you know, to really concentrate on that, the link between the physiological and the psychological, and how related they are. Like, you know, what an incredible thought. I've never even thought about that, but the shallow breathing, right? And that's people that are holding things in. It's just the way that their mind affects their body.
Well, and also focus, right? What you said about focus, because I mean, listen, with social media and just the way our society is built and set up, it's easy to get distracted, right? Like, you'll get into work, you'll be doing something, and all of a sudden, ding, you're like, now you're doing something else, right? Like, it's like easy to get distracted. So, what are some other practical things someone can do to help them regain focus in a world that's so busy?
Yeah, well, you know, if you think about it, there are literally thousands of scientists that are trying to steal your attention right now. Thousands of scientists that are at Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and the news media, and they're all sitting around saying, how do we steal this human being's attention and sell it to an advertiser? And we don't care how we steal it. We'll steal it with endlessly scrolling through videos of nonsense to make a buck off this person. So just think about, there are $1 billion being spent to steal your attention. You have to know that, and you have to fight to get it back. And the way that you do that is a thing called restriction. See, a restriction is you saying, I'm going to restrict Instagram. And you might even put, as I do, I put a timer on it, and so it locks me out. I put a parental timer on these apps because I know that there's some forces at work that are much smarter than me at Instagram trying to figure out how to steal my attention, and this attention is how I fulfill my purpose.
Wow.
And so restriction goes to not only the things that distract you, but the things that steal your energy as well. So, you know, I know some people that like to drink. I don't personally drink, but if you have too many glasses of wine, it's going to steal your energy. You know, maybe one is fine. Whatever your beliefs are. I prefer not to leak my energy out to anything. I don't need to drink caffeine because I restrict caffeine, and because I restrict caffeine, my body knows itself, and I can get more rest, and I can, you know, and have more energy. So I restrict anything that drains my energy. I restrict anything that steals my time. And the more that you add up these micro challenges in your life, the more you will get to a place where you're grounded, you're centered, you're present, and you're able to execute. And that's what business is all about. It's about execution. And so restriction is the gateway to execution.
I love what you're talking about, and I have another question that's kind of a little bit off the wall, maybe a little off topic, but we were talking about social media is like they got scientists back there trying to figure out how to steal your attention.
Right.
And I just watched the whole. I watched the keynote about the metaverse. You know, and have you? I don't know if you've seen it or if you know much about the metaverse. What are your thoughts on the metaverse? Because I'm like, man, they're not only trying to steal our attention, they're trying to put us into this thing. Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, spiritually, we live in a video game. It really is like a video game. Spiritually, you get points when you do good, you lose points when you do bad. The more points you get, the more light you have. The more light you have, the more of an impact you can make, right? Like, it really feels like a video game. And so all of these companies are just emulating what is happening spiritually to us. So I think it's a natural progression for us to try to deeper understand the game of life. And by modeling various video games and by us, you know, engaging in these games, we're better understanding them. I think there's some benefits to it, but I also think that with anything, you know, there's a balcony, meaning there's good, and then there's a basement. And so we have to just be very careful about how we engage in these new tools and technologies that are designed to totally steal our attention.
Wow.
You know, Mark Zuckerberg has one goal and one goal only, and that is to steal our attention from us. And this is our most valuable asset.
Wow.
And so when he's trying to do something to steal our attention, I have to know, okay, I'm going to, you know, inspect this and try to seek the good within it. I'm not going to discount it altogether because, you know, society is changing and there's some value to the way we're changing, but I'm not going to allow him to steal my attention.
Wow. Balcony or basement?
Yeah.
Woo! I'm going to give you a mic drop for that one.
Ryan, if you had to start all over again, right? Let's say you went back to the basement. What would you do? How would you do that to get back on top? What would you do?
Oh, to get back, well, if I started all over again, I would have just, you know, I would have known that God is by my side. Like, if I could go back and tell a younger Ryan, I'd have known that, like, I have, you know, when you're a poor kid and the rich kids show up, you know, they brag about how wealthy they are. You know, their dad's a billionaire. You see the stuff they have that you don't have, the houses they have, the vacations. And on Instagram, they're in the Hamptons and they're doing this and they're eating these lavish dinners and they're letting you know that, you know, that they have a great dad. And I got to tell you that I got the greatest dad in the history of dads. Like, I got a dad who's created all the trillions of dollars and all the economy, and he's created the birds that sing to us and the air that we breathe and the planets and the stars and the sun and the moon. And so I would just tell young Ryan to walk in the room knowing that you have a dad of all dads, the greatest dad in the history of dads, and all of them can brag about their earthly dads, but you have a heavenly dad that's beyond all dads. Mm-hmm. And so I would just walk with that poise and not allow society to bigot me and people to label me as being ADD and being, you know, from a broken home and from an alcoholic mother and from a drug addicted father. I would have broken all of those labels cleanly because I have a father that is, you know, the purest father on the planet, and that's my heavenly Father.
Yep.
Amen.
And he's got a plan for all of us.
Amen.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right, so I always like to ask this question, especially when it comes to very, very successful people. And I don't need you to answer it in the way that you think I want you to answer it, okay? But in your success, in your life, what has attributed to more of your success? What you know, the things inside your brain, the knowledge, the skills, or who you know, the people, the connections, the relationships? What has been more valuable to you in your personal success?
Well, the very logical answer to that is who. Because manifestation has to come through other people. Like, when I pray for money, it doesn't just show up. The God that I know doesn't just drop a bunch of gold in my house and say, prayer answered, right? The God that I know has a person cross my path. Or the God that I know has a friend recommend a book. Or,
yes,
you know, has me see a sign or see something that I need to learn. So, and, you know, so it's who you know. It's the mentors that I have known and that I proudly stand on the shoulders of that have led me to the wisdom that I have here today. And so I would say what I know is a small fraction of what I've obtained. Who I know is all that I've obtained, because it's my customers who I know that have brought me the revenue. It's the investors who I know that have believed in me to be able to build my businesses. And it's the acquirers who I know that bought my companies that have led me to the exits that I've had. the readers who I know who have bought my books. You know, I could go on the pulpit here and preach to you about who you know all day long.
Yes.
It is absolutely who you know.
Let's go, mic drops. All right, so speaking of who you know, okay, I know that there's somebody that you know that I think could add some value to this show. I would love if you think that they would add value or that we could bring them value, an introduction. There's a guy in your network. He was actually in your promo video. And I'm going to be bold. I'm just going to ask, because if you don't ask, you don't get, right? So, would you introduce me to Tony Robbins? I've been trying to get connected with him for a long time, so I'm just going to ask you, man. I got to be bold, right?
Yeah, you know, Tony's he's got a very systematic. So I'm not saying no, but we got to find, anytime you want to get a connection with this, you have to find a way to add extreme value to the person.
Exactly.
You know, and so Tony's got, you know, a system around him to protect his time as he needs to. And so we just have to basically, you know, come up with an ask that penetrates that system. But the answer is we can get it done. It's just a matter of making sure that we do it appropriately. And also timing is important to these types of asks. So when Tony's promoting a book, he's much more open to giving his time to you know, shows and things like that. When he's writing the book, he's very closed off to this type of stuff.
Speaking of books, you have a new book.
Yeah, I've Rockbound to Rockstar that you mentioned, which is my second book, but I have another book that I'm in the process of writing right now that's, you know, around what I've learned throughout my spiritual journey. So it's a much more spiritual book.
Yeah, and he's got a documentary. You guys need to go check out his documentary. I do have one last question for AlterCall. Is AlterCall hiring right now? What type of roles are you looking to fill, if so? And yeah, because I mean, we've got a big old audience of folks that may be able to plug in with that. Are you hiring, and what type of roles?
Yes, I am. I'm hiring. You know, I have a small startup right now, so we add a couple people per month. So every single month we're adding people. And we're looking right now for roles primarily in our sales group. We've been rounding out some of the operational roles very recently, but anybody that, you know, that would love to work with helping people, you know, step into their highest self, and people that really have a servant-driven heart and that want to build a movement and build a cause, I'd love to hear from you. And if we're not hiring for that particular role right now, we might soon very well be. You know, I'm going to scale this business, you know, brick by brick. I don't have an exit in mind or an intention to try to sell it. This is going to be my life's work. So God willing, I'll have another 40 plus years where I'll be active as an entrepreneur. And my goal is to spend the next 40 plus years building this into the impact that it's capable of, and, you know, and seeing my message out into the world. And so if a person's really interested in building something that makes a great impact and it's a part of a movement and is willing to, you know, bring a tremendous amount of skill, experience, work ethic, and heart to it, then I'm interested in hearing from you.
Well, you heard it here, Who You Know Nation. What's the best way for them to connect with those opportunities? Is there a website that they can go to, or what's the best way for them to connect to it?
The best way would be to reach out to me personally on Instagram. I'm at Real Ryan Blair. If you DM me, I'll engage with you and just let me know how you found me.
Wow.
And we can pick up the conversation.
Dang, now that's a mic drop for the audience. Love it. Just DM him on Instagram and he's going to talk to you. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah. That is so cool. So many people won't do that these days, right? And so I think that's just amazing. Guys, if we can do me a big favor in the audience, if you can take a screenshot right now, I want you to take a screenshot of Ryan, and I want you to post it all over social media. I want you to blow him up. I want you to tag him. I want you to let him know how much you appreciate him and how thankful we are at the Who You Know Nation for Ryan Blair. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you as well. It's been a pleasure.
Guys, that's the show. It's all about Who Ya Know. Bye.
Trevor Houston here, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Who You Know Job Networking Show. We hope you've been inspired, encouraged, educated, and entertained all at the same time. For information on our different events, workshops, partners, or partnership opportunities available, check out whoyouknow.show for more details. And be on the lookout for our new mobile app. You never know how this show can help someone you know? And if we've made an impact or put a smile on your face today, don't forget to hit that share button on your way out. Until next week, it's all about who you know. Bye!
Oh. Faith without works is dead. I don't wanna die so soon. I got moves to make.